Hello everybody, it's me, AB Weeb here, and today I'll be reviewing Nemesis the Proxy. Hi, Prissy. And I'm sorry about the dog noises. I have to watch the dogs. I have pet dogs. So, anyways, sorry about that. I'm just making sure everything's okay. So, first of all, I started doing one of these and then I got rudely interrupted by dogs barking and sister yelling and oh god. But she left for her other moms, so I'm able to do my video now in peace, hopefully. Now, so we're going to be reading today the Itsy Bitsy Spider, or Nemesis the Proxy's backstory. So I started reading this, and I was like, oh my god. No offense, but I was like, oh my god. So, we'll start. Hold on, I can't see well, so... The Itsy Bitsy Spider by Dark Angel 6021, I believe? Yes, Dark Angel 6021. Sorry if I do really think. So, anyways, let me tell you. So, yeah, the Itsy Bitsy Spider. Let me tell you something that happened to me a few years ago about a friend that I met in the woods not far from where I used to live. Okay, the title is actually quite cool. Now, after every paragraph, usually it's after every chapter, but this is all one story. No chapters, thank God. Unlike freaking Clockwork, which I'm not saying, which I'm not even going to try reading that again. Last time I tried reading that, I got a headache. So anyways, yeah, I'll give my whole thing about that. So yeah. So I actually like the way it starts out. About a friend I met in the woods, not friend. I really like it. I like that part. It was cool. It started on a Saturday, late afternoon. It was an evening. In any case, it happened on that day. Sorry, I can't talk today. I had run out of the house crying because my overly religious mother had struck me again, telling me that I was a devil child. I didn't do anything terribly sinful. All I asked was if I could have a new laptop. A laptop for school. But then again, she always thought electronic devices, especially the new ones, were considered as being tools of Satan. And all because she kept hearing bad things connected to the use of technology. I didn't even own an iPhone because of it. Okay, all I'm saying right there is, what the heck? I don't understand that. I mean, I don't think anywhere in religion it says technology like iPhones, laptops. Now, I'm not a Christian, or I'm not heavily Christian. I'm not even Christian at all. I don't have a religion. I believe in what I want to believe. I have no religion. I have not been baptized. I've not been any kind of thing like that. I am a girl who doesn't have any really religion. Except for maybe just this thing I believe, but I might do a video on that, like, maybe a while. I don't know. Maybe when it's close to a religious holiday, I guess. Yeah. So anyways, I actually, in the earlier video, I was looking over some of the photos, and I looked over one and said there was a ton of slashes on her back. And she said, like, it was a picture of the scars on her. She has a lot of scars on her. And I'm sitting there like, okay, a person can't have that many scars on them. I mean, that's kind of overamount. It was kind of overkill in my opinion. So I was like sitting here like trying to figure out. And then it said, like, there's, like, giant slash marks on her back. And I'm sitting there, and it says, these are from Guess Who. You can probably guess who these are from. And I'm sitting there like, okay, who is it from? Actually, that's actually what I said after that. And I'm like, that's what I said after that. So actually, what I actually said was another abusive parent story. Yeah, good. Not like we don't have enough of those in Creepypasta already. But in all seriousness, don't write stuff like that unless you feel. Don't handle it this poorly. Like, she's handling it poorly right now because she just mentions it like little casually and then like doesn't really return to the topic as of late. She might return to the topic later, but probably not likely that that's going to happen. But still, you don't just throw something like that in. You basically want to start off like how I had a story once. It was really bad. I mean, the girl was actually, she had two abusive parents. And it was my old character, Scary Mary. And she basically, her parents, she had a father who was like, why aren't all your chores done and everything, like yelling at her. And they weren't abusive until after the death of her brother, which they thought, and this was actually after she got out of the jail, like when they were abusive towards her. And she was like, what the heck? Because she remembered kind, loving parents. They kept a gun on them. And that's the whole reason why. Her brother got shot, and the police she was wearing gloves that day because it was like winter. And they suspected that she's the one who shot the gun, even though her fingerprints aren't on it because she had gloves on. And so she's like, I didn't do it. But she is the old character, like, actually, Scary Mary and the character that I have now, Rose, they have the same neurological disorders. They're practically, my new character, Rose, that I'm creating right now is basically a different version of Scary Mary, except a little less Mary Sue-ish. I'm just going to say that right now. And her parents weren't abusive, so I'm taking that out of the story. And she doesn't have brothers, she has two sisters. And so, yeah. And it doesn't really talk about her family life in the story much because her family life was pretty much okay. For the most part, I mean, there was little quarrels here and there, but, Anyways, so, yeah, Lion had a whole dragged out chapter about how her parents started to abuse her. I admit, it's really poorly written. It was a very poorly written story. It was actually supposed to be meant like a fan fiction, but her origin story was a fan fiction. So it was kind of weird. Hold on. Okay, no. Sorry, just checking to see if someone was pulling in our driveway. Anyways, so, and then the electric device thing, I already talked about that. But literally, the thing that I said when I first read through this is, you never know, maybe at this time she's like 9 or something, or like she's maybe like 9, 10, 11, maybe 11, like 13 at the most. So yeah, that's my opinion on that part. And I also made a corny joke. Because she ain't got no iPhone. Sorry, I had to do it. Anyways, let's continue on reading because I've spent too much time blabbering already. I had run for as long as I could until. Oh wait, that reminds me. And the other one. She does not. I had run. She already won. I'm actually, when I do these kind of videos, I keep tally marks of the spelling errors. Hold on. I just forgot a piece of paper to do that. So yeah, I might have to yell. If you guys can still hear me, I'm going to be surprised, and that is a really good mic range. But anyways, so I'm going to do this, since this is my first really review ever. I actually like to count up and tally up. I've reviewed characters before, but I have never posted videos about them. So, sorry I can talk too fast, by the way. But I tally up the number of grammatical errors. So that's the first grammatical error in the story. Run instead of ran. Because the way it was put is I had run out of the house. Is that correct grammar? I thought it would have been cool, like a little error fix for that. Hey! Don't you start. Don't you two start. I'm trying to do a review here. Sorry, dogs. Don't. Sorry, I'm Spencer. I said no. Sorry about that. My dogs are getting kind of rowdy. I have to put them outside. But anyways, so yes, that's it. We're both going outside. You can't be quiet when I'm trying to do my video. I'm gonna go outside. And I tell you no barking outside. You don't bark outside. You need to go outside. Okay, yeah, that's the main one. They have to go outside. Sorry about that. Well, anyways, as I was saying, I take tallies of grammatical errors, and I think of ways to fix them, and I actually do state that. So I had run out of the house crying. Happened that day. In any case, it happened on that day. I remember, like, a cool way she could have done it is, I remember running out of the house crying. Like, I remember running out of the house. That would have been cool. Or I remember how I ran. It was actually cool. I actually think that would be a quite cool way to do that. I actually want to do a writing of my character's story and do something like that in it. Like telling it from her perspective. Or like another perspective. But I do know I want to tell it from first person point of view where you're in this. Whereas basically in the story, you're actually, the whole thing I like to do with mine is you're reading through diary entries. Like Psychosis, if you know that, Creepypasta. If you like actual Creepypasta instead of the Creepypasta character OCs, which is two halves of the fandom. Anyways, let me just start. I'm going to continue on before I get too sidetracked. I had ran for as long as I could until I was far enough from the house, yet I continued to cry till my tears ran dry. I was getting sick and tired of living with an unstable Christian fundamentalist mother who was cold and abusive, and a father who was barely at home and too busy to take notice. Had I had a choice, I would have left my home in an instant. But I was a painfully shy 13-year-old girl at that time. It wasn't possible. That wasn't possible. And to make matters worse, I had no friends to consult my problems to back then. Even the school counselors weren't all that helpful. Sorry, guys. But anyways, as I said, 13. I personally didn't get my phone until I was on my it was 12th or 13th. I didn't get a phone until my 12th or 13th birthday. Yeah, it was my 12th. And I actually still have that phone. Oh my god. I still have that phone. I'm going to try hooking it up to my computer and then downloading all the files that I have on it onto my computer, because I have some image files that I thought were really cool. But anyways, so yeah, it's not, and plus, my first phone wasn't an iPhone either. Not everybody has an eye road. As I said, that first world, she's going through first world shit. Hate it. Hate people who complain about first world problems. And so you're sitting there like, oh my god, shut the hell up. There's people who are doing worse than you. And the thing about her being a painfully shy 13-year-old girl, I know the feels. I know the feels. Except I'm not. Once you get to know, I bet if you got to know her, she would be like really upbeat and really happy and everything. Like for me, if a girl like this, like she has like probably, I'm guessing because she has green eyes and brown hair, like started going to her school or something, I'd be like, okay, whatevs. I'd probably say hi here and there. And maybe talk to her. I actually am very shy myself, so I have nothing to say about that topic. Will you stop working? Sorry, dogs. And they want to come in now, so I gotta go let them in. But anyways, as I was saying, I am a painfully shy 13-year-old. I understand that whole part. But still, and she has a reason to be. My reason to being shy is because I don't. Come on. Get down. Anyways, my reason for being shy is that I am just a shy person. It was ever since 4th grade that I was shy. Because I didn't really know anybody back then. I didn't know a person who went to my school until I found out that my Girl Scout troop leader's daughter actually went there. And she was actually in one of my classes. And so they're like, oh my god, from Girl Scouts. And like, yeah, I used to be a Girl Scout. So I'm not offended when people say, like, call me, like, okay, Girl Scout. I'd be like, okay, whatever. I was a Girl Scout, so I said it was, so I'm not a Girl Scout now. No cookies. Sorry, guys, no cookies. But anyways, so the thing about the school counselor is not being helpful. Mary Sue traits. Seriously, Rose has the thing where she's like really nice and peppy, and you just talk to her and you become friends with her at night and just hang out with her. I kind of based my character off my Aunt Bridget. She's the kind of person that you can go up and talk to, and like in the supermarket, like you both like. She's like the person that you see in the supermarket. You know, the people that you see like in checkout line when you're like waiting for painstaking hours, and she's in front of you, and she has like the little kid, and it's like you have a child with you, and it's like. And the children start talking, then you start talking to her, and then you realize she's really cool, even though she seems like a soccer mom. That's my Aunt Bridget for you. Actually, she's not really a soccer mom. She's a skating mom because my cousin's an ice skater. Anyways, so enough about that. But the thing about the school counselor is not even being able to help her. Is she telling the school counselors that she's being abused at home? They could take her out of that home and put her into foster care. Research. That's also one of the reasons why I scrapped the whole idea of her being abused, because, you know, people would notice bruises on her arm and be like, oh, what the heck? Like teachers would notice it and be like, are you, like, after tons of weeks noticing it, and they'd be like, are you okay? And if they're like, I'm fine, it's just parents. And that in one way or another, they would find out. Whether it be from student-parent conferences or something else like that. But I do know people who are abusive actually can put on a really good front. So unless her parents can put on a really good front to the fact where they get everyone thinking that they're not like that, but they really are, then yeah, I guess it could. But my sister's been in an abusive relationship. One of my sisters was in an abusive relationship. She's living with us now. That's the one who just left earlier. That I was telling you guys about. But anyways, I'm kind of blabbering on right now, so I really should stop. But yeah, so I could tell he was abusive. Children, especially, if they've been through like the health class thing, because at our school we have to take health our 7th grade year, and they talk about domestic violence and everything like that, whether it be verbal, mental, whether it be physical, mental, cyber, it's like all the bullying shit. I don't understand bullying, but whatevs. It's something that happens in this world. But yeah, the school counselors, I think, would be kind of helpful in that situation. As I continue, okay, so I'm going to continue now. Sorry. As I continued to walk along the long, dusty road, I heard voices. Oh, wait, I forgot. Second spelling error, same as the first one. Unless it's correct, then I'm just being cuckoo bananas. Anyways, so. And also, if there's dialogue and I can tell it's dialogue, I will just add that into one of them. So, as I continued to walk along the dusty road, I heard voices up ahead coming closer and closer to where I stood. When I looked up, wiping the old tears from my eyes, I froze in terror. A group of older boys, clearly drunk, came stumbling over to my direction, talking loudly as if they were announcing themselves to the world. Obviously of my presence. Unsure what to do, I turned back and started back home with as much stealth as possible, trying hard not to make my presence noticed. Okay, I've seen this trope many times, usually in fan fiction, but you know. I usually see this trope in like fan fiction where it's reader X hoodie. I realize that. People are like, because people who watch the Marble Hornets know that the reason Masky attacks Jay and, well, the theory, if you're good with theories and everything, the reason why the masked man attacked Jay and Jessica was actually to save them from Slender, who was coming. But Slender was there before Masky could get Jay, and that's how that whole debacle happened. And then, but they were able to get Jessica out of there good and safe. And it shows how the operator came and they actually protected Jessica. So that's why people are like, Masky and Hoodie are the good guys. In my story, however, I follow a special adaptation of the Marble Hornets. I actually changed a little bit of the story. Sadly, I have to change some of the story to fit the canon. Basically, the whole thing is that I go actually with the original plan for Marble Hornets, which is where you actually figure out that Jay is a proxy. That Jay is one of the masked men as well. Not Masky or Hoodie, as they've been nicknamed, but one named Scully. And basically, it's going on continuing like, oh shit, I'm proxy. What the fuck do I do? And basically following him trying to get rid of his proxy/demon side. During that, after a couple of years, he actually lives past the time when he was dying, when he got killed. So yeah, that's fine. Alex came up again, trying to be the hero, but ending up being the villain because he came in at a time where it's when Scully. It was the whole story about that was Skull that I created. Like for that was Scully, Masky, and Hoodie were having like an annual kind of meeting kind of thing which is quite funny, I think, where they're all like, they know it's each other, and they're like, what do we do now that we are like this? It's like he's talking with Jay and Brian. Brian did turn up missing. And he actually came back, and they actually found him a season after Tim came back. And everybody was, which is quite funny. But they're basically talking about, like, how the friggin' hell are we going to stop the operator? And and because of the thing, they were wearing their masks. They knew it was each other, but they didn't know it was each other at the same time. Scully didn't know that. They didn't know it was each other. Okay, it's hard to explain. The whole thing was they knew that they were like the Masked Man, the Hooded Man, and Scully. Each of the respective person knew that, but they didn't know. But the other two didn't know that one was the proxy / to the Ark member, depending on how you see it. But as I was saying, they're all like talking in their masks, and Alex comes in and is like, tries to light the place up with his handgun. And that's when we see actually Hoodie get shot. That's where my character actually comes into the story. They actually see, like, they see someone club him over the head with something, like a wooden plank. It was a girl in a hoodie. Well, not really. Actually, a girl in a red trench coat, wearing black pants and black boots. She's seen that he was injured, and she's like, "Oh my god! Oh my god, he shot him!" She actually was able to restrain the gun from him because he was knocked out. She picked up the gun. And unloaded it. She literally unloaded it as fast as she could. And was like, "Nope." She flipped out every single one. She pulled out every single one of the bullets, put it back in there, and then turned safety lock on and stuck it in Alex's pocket. The other two, out of fear, were like, "What the fuck are you?" And like, she wasn't even scared of them with the masks on. They asked like, "Who the hell are you?" And then she's like, "Oh, my name's Rose. What's your guys' name?" And then they actually use their code names, I guess you could say. And she's like, "Okay then. Well, I gotta go. Well, he's got a bullet lodged in him. It's light red, so he might die." And then they're like, "What?" And they're like, "I can fix him." She's like, "I can fix him." And they're like, "What?" And she then pulls out her spell book and does the magic. This is also a world where magic is an occurrence. And she said, "Now, let me explain to you how I did that." And she explains the whole thing about the casters and how the casters are like both. They're actually like, they're a mixture of demon hunters and witches. They're basically demon hunting witches. They use their magic to hunt demons. They're the good guys. Some of them, though, work with demons. But some of them are reverse, and they actually work with the demons. So she explains that to them, and they're like, "Do you work with a demon or against a demon?" And she says, "A little bit of both." She's just gonna look a little bit of both, I guess. I mean, it's been my solitary purpose to find him and defeat him after he put a curse on our family, but there's some requirements to that. As to the fact that this certain one has more than one person under his control, more than me under his control, and they're like, "Holy hell, who are you talking about?" And then she's like, "He's known as the Operator." And they're like, "We're trying to figure out how to kill him too." And she's like, "Cool. Oh, cool. Well, anyways, it's not your fight, so you guys should probably leave." And they're like, "He's been taking off our lives. We're helping." And it's like, "Okay then." But, you know. And basically the whole story goes on with the four of them. They're all wearing their masks, except for Rose, because Rose doesn't have a mask. And basically they're trying to figure out how to defeat him in a final battle kind of thing. And then basically the ending of it is he actually comes and they like see him and she casts a spell to try and kill him and they get sucked into another universe. What is that other universe exactly? Well, in this universe, Slender's actually nice to him. He says like, Rescue, Hoodie, Skelly! Glad you guys are back from your mission. Glad you guys are back from your mission. Rose understands that they're in the alternate paradigm. Rose, of course, understands that they're in the alternate paradigm, and they're like, what the hell? They're cowering and pulling out, like, because they all have weapons on them. Two of them having knives, and then Hoodie has the gun. Rose realizes that they got pulled through to an alternate dimension. She's sitting there like, she actually goes, hi, Slendy. And she says Slendy instead. He says, I thought I told you not to call me that. But saying the Slender name is so long. Can I just call you Slendy at least? And they're like, he's like, Rose, stop it. Rose, shut up. And it's like, right, sorry. And they're like, what? And also, Tiki Toby comes in the story at that point. Tiki Toby, Kate the Chaser, and there was one more. Yeah, it was Tiki Toby and Kate the Chaser coming in the story at that point. Toby and Kate run in, and they're like, hey, like Toby, Masky, of course. And then you see he's like he pulls out his knife. He's like, they all go into like defensive positions where they're all three like in a triangle, and they're like, what the hell is going on? And Rose is like, they're like, I should really explain that. Slendy, they're not from this world. They're like, he's like, what? And I'm like sitting there like, yeah, we kind of came from an alternate paradigm. I guess you could say we came from an alternate paradigm where you kind of tried to slaughter them all, rubbing the back of it. Yeah. We're just at, and then she actually explains like, oh, plus the fact that this is only a branch off of the real one, and the real one, everyone dies. They're all like, in the real one, those two die, but this one doesn't, so yeah. And then they're like, wait, what? We were gonna die? Not really. Well, it's quite hard to explain. Sure, actually, it's an alternate paradigm, which is the true paradigm, but we were in a branch-off paradigm. And now we're in another branch-off paradigm on a completely different tree, if you get what I'm saying. And they're like, we don't understand what you're saying. Okay, well, good. She acts like she doesn't even realize it. And they go back living their lives in like a fan fiction, I guess you could say. I've been babbling on for too long, haven't I? Sorry about that. I went on a little rampage about my character and how I'm planning the story to be as like a kind of different scenario of the Marvel Hornets. Sorry about that. But anyways, I can't. And what even started that here? Oh yeah, the EX reader stories. All of them end up like that at the beginning. It's really annoying. Poor buddy. I just had to go off on that little. Sorry about the little tangent. Anyways, as I was going to say, yeah. So at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Cody was like, they're like, nope. And then like hitting him on the head with a lightsaber or something. That would actually be quite funny. If like after that, because I haven't read that far yet, and he's like, no. It hits all of them in the head. I feel like Masky would attack him too. It'd be hysterical. And then the 13-year-old's like, what the hell is going on here? Sorry, more comicalness. But anyways, sorry about my little tangent there. Man, how long have you been recording for exactly? Hold on. Okay, so we are live, but how long have we been recording? I haven't looked at how long we've been recording. All right, well, let me just continue reading. Hey there, cutie pie. Want to come hang out with us? Oh my God. I'm not even going to. I froze for a second before I mustered enough courage to turn around and see what the boys staring straight at me as they grinned and eyed me with such distasteful lust. Give me a sec. It didn't take long for me to realize what their intentions were. Ignoring their offer, I turned back and continued to walk with haste. Okay, this is actually my problem with this. At this point, wouldn't you be running? At this point, I know, I'd be there hey, if a guy, randomly, a group of guys, one of them came up to me and said, hey there, kid, if I want to get out with us, and these are probably teenagers, seniors probably. Not senior citizens, I mean high school seniors, maybe sophomores, I don't know. Somewhere in the high school age. And then I'd be they're like, shit, run! I'd take off running and then with that. So anyways, that's the problem I have with that. Didn't our parents teach her stranger danger? Never mind. But let me continue. Okay, let me continue on with that. Aw, don't leave. I just want to have a little fun with ya. Oh, fun. One of them said as they hurried after me. It only made me walk faster. I guess they realized I wasn't going to stop for the group, then immediately chased after me. At this point, I would have already been running. Any sane child or girl who's 13 years old probably knows already in this situation. You don't just walk away okay then. You go no, run! Then run away. Don't just walk away. You run. You run as fast as you can. If they're chasing you, you just run faster. Or, since she's in a forest, climb up a tree. She's in a forest, I think. You would climb up a tree. That's what I would do, at least. I would try to find a short enough tree to climb up. I'd run, and while I'm running, I would carefully scope the area. Hopefully find a tree small enough for me to climb up, and I'd start climbing up it. Hopefully there's an off branch on it that I can climb up a taller tree. Seriously, people, unless Nemesis is not really bright up in the head, then yeah. Anyways, back to what I was reading. I'm gonna have to go upstairs soon. Okay, is that car turning or... Okay, is it a van? I think it might be a van. That's probably the parents' van. Well, anyways, I'm gonna continue this going on reading. I noticed they were catching up to me. I knew that I wouldn't make it back home in time. So left with little options, I ran straight into the darkness. Thank you! All I have to say is thank you for finally taking the option to run into the woods. Sorry if my voice cracks a little bit. Seriously! Okay, I ran straight into the darkness, hoping that trees and the lack of light would slow them down. Unfortunately, it did the same with me. Oh well, if you run into a friggin' tree, screw it, get back up and run again. Unless, hopefully, you don't get knocked out by a branch or something. At that point, I would probably either, as I said earlier, you either run as fast as your little legs can carry you, or you throw something at them. I don't know. Start a forest fire if you have to. Okay, this is actually the part I got up to. So now everything from here on is blind. It's blindly. So after I ran blindly through the trees for what seemed like hours, I started to slow down. My eyes at the point where they started to adjust to the darkness. Now I was able to make my way around without bumping into trees. She probably bumped into 10 trees. Or even more, probably. However, since I never ventured into the woods before, I knew that it would take some time for me to find the road that would lead back to home. Even so, I stayed close to this giant This giant tree, seeing if any of those boys had followed me. If I could hear or see anything, it looked as if my plan worked and they just gave up and left. Oh, how wrong I was. Oh no. Oh shit. You don't... At this point, please just pick up a rock and fling it at their heads or something. Do something. Don't just... There you are. We wondered where you went off to. Oh, shit. Be at the point. Shit. I spun quickly to see the same boy standing behind had me surrounded, blocking my escape. Oh, shit. Regardless, I instantly tried to push past the barrier, only for two of them to grab me tightly and push me to the ground. I attempted to scream, but a rough hand quickly covered my mouth, allowing only muffled screams to come out. Then I felt hands grapple. Nope. Pulling them over my face before hands started to go for my underwear. I struggled the best I could, but they were too strong and had me held on tight. Oh, shit. When I heard set under the zippers coming down and the rustling of clothes, I knew it was about to take place and closed my eyes tightly and hoped I went to. Oh my god! Okay, this is another problem I have with stories like this. The rape. Scream for help! You scream for help! Bite their hands or something. If I were to, unless your teeth are like really dull, just bite down on someone's hand. Seriously, that's actually, if I were in that situation right there, I'd bite down on their hands so he'd pull it off, and then I'd scream, "Help!" as loud as I could, for Jesus H. Christ's sake. At that moment, something occurred. It happened so quickly, I couldn't see what was going on. Oh. But I felt the hands that had me restrained remove, following by the boy's screams of terror. I heard slashing sounds, followed by squirts and splat. Ooh. Which then ended in several objects being dropped to the ground. I lay there for almost a minute or two, and slowly I sat up and arranged my clothes. I then remembered the commotion that just occurred earlier. So against my better judgment, I pushed myself to look up and see what had occurred. I really wish I hadn't. Ooh, they're gonna be bloody and gory, I hope. On the grassy floor, mangled and bloody, were the lifeless corpses of the boys. It was a horrendous sight to see. They looked though a lawnmower had run over the way some of the limbs were sliced from their torso. Ooh. Yet a couple of their bodies weren't vertically sliced in half, organs spilling out. What? Taken by this good scene, I hunched over and vomited on the ground next to the tree until my stomach emptied. Yet still, I continued to reach and heave. Are you all right? I stopped in the middle of reaching and quickly turned around, only to be surprised. Pressed next to me was a girl. She appeared to have been a few years older than I was. The skin as pale as the moon, but with a well-toned body. Though she had spent her days hiking up mountain steeps. Her hair was long and brown like chocolate, yet wild, carefree as the lines in May. Okay. While her clothes looked worn yet still well kept. All would have been quite attractive if not for the horrid scars that seemed to blind her skin, and the white mask with vines that covered. That wasn't her? Oh my. That's actually interesting. So that's not. Oh my god. So the main character in the story that's not nemesis was. Oh my god. That is awesome. A white mask with vine design that covered her face. It may have been my imagination, but I could have sworn that her hidden eyes seemed to produce an eerie white and red glow. The masked girl continued to stare at me, seeming to get impatient. I said, "Are you all right?" she asked, sounding frustrated. As I stared at her for another moment, I started to cry, not because I was scared, although I probably would have because the ordeal I had just gone through one day and suddenly caught up to me. But you can't honestly blame me. I had been verbally as well as physically abused by my mother, only to nearly get raped by a group of boys then to find yourself surrounded by their mutilated corpses? Obviously, anyone would break down after experiencing something like that. Overcome with grief and fear and disguising for coming, I accidentally flung my arms around the girl and latched her, hugging her close as I continued to sob. The girl seemed tense from this, suddenly embracing before relaxing herself. It wasn't long before she put her arms around me, patting my back in attempts to comfort me. While it may have seemed like a weak attempt, she was still soothing. A few minutes later, I had calmed down. I slowly let go of the girl. It was hard to tell what she was thinking, much less feeling due to the mask that continued to hide her face. But it seemed that she wasn't hostile, despite the massacre she had caused. You feel better now? Yes, thank you for asking. You're really lucky. Had I not shown, God knows what those guys would have done to you, she said as she looked at the corpses before turning to me. You really shouldn't have going through the trees in the woods by yourself, especially this late in the day. Next time, if you really want to venture out here again, you should go with a friend. I looked down at the grassy floor, knowing that what I was about to say was not going to be pleasant for me. I don't have any friends. Oh, poor dearie. The girl stared at me as her mask continued to hide her expression. Yet, I had a feeling that she was taking pity on my loneliness. It was quite pleasant for me to see someone pity on me. Most people would either ignore or take great pleasure in seeing me like this. Another minute of awkward silence, she spoke again. Do you want to be friends with me then? This is cute! I looked at her, surprised by her offer. No one had ever asked me before, and honestly, hearing this gave me a mixture of joy and curiosity. Really? You want to be friends with me? But why? I'm nothing special or anything. You don't have to be special to be friends with someone. You just need to be yourself. Besides, it looks as though you could use a friend right now. Then she stood up and offered me her hand. So I'll ask you again. Do you want to be friends? Then I looked from her to her hand. All my thoughts about the dead boys and the fact that this girl had killed them had completely gone from my mind. My mind made up, I grasped her hand. Yes, I do. She nodded and helped me to my feet. Come on, it's getting late. I'd better get you back home before I clean up this mess. If you want, I can meet you outside of the woods tomorrow afternoon. I merely noted the response to her offer. She began to lead me away from the massacre. Wait, what's your name? I asked, for I didn't know what to call her. The girl seemed to pause for a moment, pondering something for a minute there. I thought she didn't have a name, but then she finally told me her name, a name that would forever remember till the day I die. I'm called Nemesis. Oh my god. I can't even help it. You gotta feel at least a little sorry for this girl, I mean. Think about it. She just almost got raped. Oh my god. Whew. Well, anyways. This already has me sealed the deal. She might not be such of a Sue after all, now I think about it. Hold on. Let's continue reading. So, for 2 weeks after school, during my free times and the weekend, I would go into the woods and meet up with Nemesis, who would often wait beside a tree, just near the outskirts of the woods. And if she wasn't, I would wait instead until she arrived. It wasn't that hard to find unless you weren't looking for it. While the tree itself looked like any other trees, up just about eye level, carved deeply in the tree's bark, was a particular design. It was a pentagram. It had a circle carved into it, followed by an X in the center. Slendy! So, now that actually has my little thing. When's she gonna meet Slendy? Nemesis had carved that symbol into a tree using what she called her weapon of choice, which was a yo-yo with 4 blades that were able to retract to her will. How?
She also bear the same symbol. She told me that if she was ever late, I was to wait until she arrived. Every time we met, we would venture further into the woods, into a clearing of patch where wildflowers grew. The trees circled around the clearing, leaving wide open space that allowed the sun to bask in its rays on the flowery petals. It was very beautiful, untainted, almost like a painting. And since nobody ventured here, it became our secret spot. We didn't do much. Most times we would just talk. Well, I'd talk, she would listen. I would tell her about my days at home and school, mostly about the problem that I've had. It seemed to bother her. In fact, she appeared to enjoy my conversations. Though sometimes when we didn't talk, we'd either make flower bracelets or just lay side by side among the flowers, enjoying the scenery, whilst Neville sang a string of nursery rhymes, her favorite being the Itsy Bitsy Spider. Here's her little spider friend, by the way. Doesn't she have a little spider friend? Tarantula thing? I would tell her all my troubles at school and at home, how my mother would constantly control my life, such as what were to be considered as evil, and how the kids teased me for the way I looked and behaved. Every time she listened, Nemesis would more often than not add her own opinion. She would tell me to ignore what people said about me, that I should become my own independent self, not take orders from others. Well, as some of you could imagine, that was easier said than done. Funny enough, I started to feel braver and more confident in myself. I don't know if it was just being around Nemesis or hearing her advice, but I no longer felt nervous when going to school. It was like I had been a feeble chick huddled inside my shell all my life, only to finally break out of my shell. Apparently my classmates took notice to this as well. They no longer tease me when they pass me by. In fact, even if you had started to talk to me, it didn't mean, of course, that I was bullied. I said no longer seemed to care about it anymore. I just shrugged them off like a bad cold. Unfortunately, I still had my abusive mother to contend with. It wasn't long before I started making friends at school. For this just time in my life, I was so overjoyed that my heart felt like a butterfly that had burst out of its cocoon. Only 1 minute I was a loner and an outcast. Next, I was a part of a group where I felt like I belonged. I told Nemesis about my fortune the moment I left school. She was happy for him, but then she gave me some sad news. She told me she had to leave, for there was some business she had to attend and would continue to be busy from then on. Therefore, she would no longer be able to spend time with me anymore. I can't tell you how long and hard I stood there crying while holding Nemesis close to me. I felt like my heart was being torn in half. I was about to lose the person who immediately accepted me as a friend, the one who was like an older sister to me. Nemesis tried to comfort me, but she knew that it would take some time before I would finally accept. Before she left, she had promised that she would come visit me again for one last time. A week came and went, and still no sign of her. I still kept my hopes up and prayed that she would show up again. With my new friends to hang out with, I wasn't lonely anymore. It wasn't long until another event occurred. One that made me the happiest girl I've ever been. I had found love. Oh my god! About a week ago, a transfer student by the name of Victor Malloy came to school. He was a tall, regular-built boy with shoulder-length dark brown hair and beautiful hazel eyes. The kind of guy that would have girls swarming over him. Almost the minute that lesson ended, girls would suddenly walk up to him and start flirting with him. I never bothered, for I didn't think that guy like him would ever be interested in someone as ordinary like me. But then, after school, he came over to me. Ooh. We talked and laughed as we walked out of the school. And for the next few days, we continued to do the same thing. Then one day, he asked me if I would be his girlfriend. I said yes to his proposal without a moment's hesitation, not caring what my mother would say to me. Thanks to the confidence that nemesis had given to me, I wasn't going to let anything get in my way of the happiest moment in my life. Unfortunately, fate was not too kind to me on that horrible day. I wish that I wish all my I wish with all my heart that it never happened, yet it did. We just had our second date. Victor walked me to my house. Before he left, we shared our first kiss together, which happened to be my first kiss ever. I was so blinded by love that I didn't realize Mother had seen us through the window. Ooh, no! So when I went inside, I was instantly greeted by her angry stares, followed by a slap across my face, and she spat out words calling me such names as a whore and a slut. What? But it didn't stop there. She thought that I was no longer pure, but now tainted with sin. She dragged me by the hair up the stairs to the bathroom door. I struggled and cried out as much as I could, begging her to stop, but she continued, for she was too stubborn to set in her ways. She still kept a tight grip on me as she ran the bathwater. Despite my pleas, as soon as the bathtub was filled, suddenly be over forced my head to the water. Shocked and terrified, I frantically tried to pry my mother's hands off my head, but her fingers had coiled firmly into my hair. That acted like a vice. So no matter how hard I struggled, with her grip just got tighter and tighter. It wasn't long before I was running out of air. My strength was beginning to leave me. By this point, everything just became a blur. I remember being pulled out of the water by the faint feeling of being laid down on the floor. I'd assumed that Mother had decided my punishment was over and would leave me be. But then I saw a figure. I was losing consciousness at the time, so I couldn't see who it was. The figure was taller, slightly larger build than my mother, with long wild hair that seemed very much alive. It stood over me as I could hear my mother's cries of abuse. Starting down before it turned towards my mother's direction. At that point, I heard Mother whimpering before screaming in absolute terror. The last thing I remember before I had blacked out was hearing someone singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider. Oh my god, Nemesis saved her!
See? They have a tag record for saving people.
This person must have done their research into the Marble Hornets. When I came to, I found myself in the local hospital with an IV in my arm and a breathing mask over my face. My dad was sitting beside me before he noticed me awake, bending over the bed with worried yet caring eyes and asking me how I was feeling. He looked as if he hadn't slept for a while. He told me that the police had found me on the floor of the home. Apparently, I had nearly drowned at some point before they got there, and that I had been unconscious for a few days. When I asked him where Mother was, his face turned grim. He told me that she was found in the house dead. He wouldn't say more, only that someone had stuck into their home and drowned her in the bathtub before attempting to drown me, and how I was lucky that the police showed up on time. I knew that part wasn't true. I wanted to tell my dad it was Mother who attempted to drown me, but I felt to try and explain everything that had occurred. I honestly didn't think it was necessary, especially since they still had to look for a killer. Later, the police came by to ask me some questions about the incident. I told them that I couldn't recall much of what happened. I just remember choking in water and a blurry figure standing over me as I blacked out. Assuming that I was still traumatized by this whole ordeal that I couldn't recollect, the police decided to not ask me any further. When I asked about my mother's death, they refused to tell me. I think it was because I was still too young to be giving anything in detail. It would only be later when I would know more about the incident. My friends at school came over to visit a couple of times and check in on me. My boyfriend almost every day, which was sweet. I never did see Nemesis during my time in there. Oh well, just as well, really. I thought her mask would have caught anyone's attention if she did show up. Cards and flowers were sent over as well. Usually I'm saying get well or hope you feel better soon. Dad often came by to check on me. He had told me that due to the incident, we would be moving out of the house and book a room in a hotel until we can find a place away from the old neighborhood. I was glad we were moving out of the house filled with nothing but bad memories, but I was sad that I would no longer be near the woods again, for it meant I wouldn't get a chance to see my old friend for the last time. Then, one day before I was released, a card was sent to me. It looked like any other card with cute little critters and flowers on the front with "Get Well Soon" on it. But when I looked inside, it gave me chills. On the left side, a detailed sketch of a dead woman in a bathtub, with her head and body submerged in water, her mouth stuffed with crosses and other religious items. Her eyes were wide and filled with horror as they stared up into my own. Unable to tear myself away from the drawing, it didn't take long for me to realize the woman who was in the drawing was my mother. Was this how she was found when the police came into my house? If so, then why would someone send me this? Was there more to it? I swear with fear and disgust of seeing this, I forced myself to look away to see what was on the other half of the card. It looked there written red. It was a nursery rhyme, the Itsy Bitsy Spider. There was nothing wrong with it, just a sweet little nursery rhyme, or so I thought. I read it slowly but carefully and noticed the last two lines of the rhyme were altered. And I finished reading the little poem. Oh wait, I'll read the poem. Sorry, I forgot to read the poem out loud. The itsy bitsy spider climbed up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. But the itsy bitsy spider could not climb up again. I finished reading the little poem. I had noticed a message written down at the bottom. And this day those words continue to haunt me, and will remain that way forevermore. I've taken care of your little problem. Now that good-for-nothing bitch won't harm you anymore. I know you're scared and wish that it was all a dream. But don't worry, for I'm still your friend and will remain so. Just don't be like your mother, or you too will share the same fate. Nemesis. Well, anyways, that was Nemesis' story. Afterthoughts? My afterthoughts of this is there's a few little errors that I think could be fixed. Maybe making the girl older than 13? I would think maybe making the girl older than 13. Maybe around the age of like 16, so it would make much more sense about everything that happened in the story. That's really all I gotta say. And fixing a little bit of the grammatical errors that are kind of hard for me to understand. But, you know. Only one minor error. It's then, not than. There was a few other errors, I think. So, yeah. Anyways, so that is basically the backstory of Nemesis. Hold on. There's one other. This is like a version of a Nemesis. Future Nemesis. What I don't get is how the spider fits into the story. It never mentioned the spider in the story. I don't understand the roller skates either. In her story, it doesn't state about the skate. It doesn't tell that about the skates or what she wears, or just says about the yo-yo. I don't understand why the skates and the clothes needed. So basically, all I really need to say about this character is basically this is all that follows with. All I need to say about a few little criticisms of the character is actually the design of the character. I actually think the weapon is quite cool, but you could change some of the other design aspects. First of all the scars on her skin. Hold on. I noticed besides the itsy bitsy spider thing, there was nothing really correlating her spiders. If I were to give her a new design, basically Slenderman wasn't even in it too, so just say Nemesis, not Nemesis the Proxy. I think that's actually what it's been changed to, but it still says Nemesis the Proxy on certain times. Things I would change are actually the mask design. First of all, I think to change the colors of it, maybe. Because, first of all, when I look at the mask, it reminds me of Masky a little bit. This is actually Secret of Blackwood. I'm pretty sure this is like another thing. I'll have to look this up, but this might have more on Nemesis. But anyways, so that is pretty much the only problem I really have with Nemesis' story. Nemesis' story is really good, but her character design doesn't really match the story or correlate with it well. We also don't know the whole thing about Dark Nemesis, which is a profile which is another file she has in there. Basically, it's a version of Nemesis. I don't really understand it. But why have a dark Nemesis when you can just have a normal Nemesis? The spider's name is Geneva, apparently, so I have no clue. Her name is apparently Nancy Gale, from what I've seen. Now, as I said, the only problems I have with this character is the character design. I quite like this person's art style, but there's no real reason to have the spider there besides the itsy bitsy spider thing. And I think to make her more spider-like. I like the way they described her before, just without the little scars and everything. But maybe make her more spider-like and a little more proxy. Although it's a common trope, a hoodie is a good option, or at least an over jacket. Because literally, unless she's in California or Florida or somewhere where it's normally hot climate, it wouldn't work well. Next of all, basically the style of the clothing is not really functional for a proxy. Proxies want to hide their identity as much as they can. Hospitals might have records of the different cuts and scars on her from patching them up, which could cause quite a bit of deficiency, which could cause the police, if a police sketch was given, to find her quicker. Also, the shoes are extremely unfunctional because they are rollerblades. Don't understand how that's supposed to work. I like the art style of this. People are saying it's combat boots and rollerblades, but also I think maybe you would want to change some things that were. I think with the whole thing about the spiders and everything, you might want to change her mask. I actually am really good at mask design for characters. I think her eye, like around one, keep the eyes and the shape of the mask and everything is really cool actually looking. And on the mouth, maybe add on the mouth, make it look like little fangs, and then coming out of one of the eyes, and then one of the eyes being like pitch black or something, and having like a spider coming out of it. Make it look like a spider or something. I understand like the yo-yo thing with the web because it looks kind of like webbing. So I say keep the yo-yo and everything. But anyways, that's really all I really have to say about this character. I think just change up the design of it to match the story a little better. It might work well. It might have worked well. I personally, certain stories that I read, I really don't like. I really like. There's some stories I don't like, but the character design is amazing, even though the story is terrible. Then there's some stories where the character design is amazing. Where the story is amazing, but the character design is terrible. This is sadly not to say it's terrible or anything. I kind of like it. It just looks like a hodgepodge. No offense, but it looks like a hodgepodge. But that's all I really have to say. Maybe change the design of Nemesis a little bit. That's really all I have to say. Well, that's really all I have to say about this character. Well, it's really all I have to say. Basically, this character, I've noticed no correlation to Slender, so I don't know why she's called Nemesis the proxy, which is something you could change. And then, as I said, the character design. I even gave some nice suggestions. So yeah, I hope you all liked this short little video and reading of Nemesis the proxy story. And I hope you will all, if you want me to review a character actually, put it in the comments. And I hope to get a lot of those from you. Anyways, that's all I got, so goodbye.